Hello and welcome to Best Sips Worldwide. I'm your drinking companion, Susan Schwartz, an American travel writer living in London. Thanks to my mother's love of martinis, the first words I spoke were shaken, not stirred, and I've been obsessed by the history of cocktails ever since. Through the years, I've been lucky enough to sip some of the best made by the best. Hear that sound? It's time to cozy up to the bar and let me introduce you to the movers and shakers of the world's most famous watering holes. If you want to start a revolution, Philadelphia is the perfect place. This time round, Chef Michael Solomonov is fronting the cause. It was as if no one ever ate Israeli food before Zahav, his acclaimed restaurant, began wowing the crowds and critics alike. Their drinks menu is equally as glorious, and bar manager Jeff Bartash joins me today to let me in on their secrets. So why don't you tell me a little bit about Zahav?
Sure. Zahav's a modern Israeli restaurant on the Society Hill section of Philadelphia. We've been here for a little bit over 8 years now.
Oh boy, I can't believe it's been so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, time's flying, and we keep on getting busier and busier and busier. So it's a Saturday night every night.
I know, it's really hard to get a reservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some Fridays and Saturday nights now we book up 2 months in advance was when we start taking reservations. So it's definitely a competitive reservation restaurant for sure.
But you're just not any restaurant because you have a wonderful chef, and the chef is very famous. So why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
Sure. Chef Michael Solomonov. He is the chef and one of the partners here at Zahav Restaurant. He was born in Israel. His family moved to Pittsburgh when he was about 12 years old. Went back to Israel when he was 18 years old, and he didn't have a job. He didn't speak Hebrew very well since he was a little bit rusty. So he basically was going down the street going to different restaurants and bakeries and trying to get a job. So he wound up getting a job at a bakery that specialized in barekas, which are baked dough, sometimes filled with cheese or vegetables or what have you. And he was working there 6 days a week, 12, 15-hour days, and he discovered his love for cooking. So he came back to the United States after a little bit, went to culinary school down in Florida, and then after Florida, he had a couple family connections here in Philadelphia. Okay. So actually his first job here in Philadelphia was working at Vetri, which is another very famous restaurant here in Philadelphia. So he worked there, went to a place called Marigold Kitchen, that's up in West Philadelphia. Still open today. It's gone through a couple different ownership changes. Still a great restaurant. He was there, and then he wanted to open up an Israeli restaurant. So
how lucky for Philadelphia that he managed to be here.
Absolutely, it's something that's unique. It kind of started. There are a lot of Israeli restaurants opening around the country now, and we were kind of the first that kind of put Israeli cuisine on the map here. So.
Right, because I lived in New York for a long time, from Philadelphia. I had never had hummus until I went to England, and it's such a big part because of the Lebanese connection. It's such a big part of British eating, really. I don't know if I want to say cuisine, but definitely everyone has been to a Lebanese restaurant, and until people like Michael, it didn't really exist here. Even when I lived in New York for 12 years or 13 years, I never went out for hummus, So it's kind of a new cuisine for America.
Yeah, it's a new kind of undiscovered kind of cuisine too, where people ask, so what is Israeli cuisine? Israeli cuisine is kind of like an immigrant cuisine, not unlike American cuisine, where Israel is a country of immigrants, and the United States is a country of immigrants, and the people that come from around the world kind of dictate what the food is. So there, have Eastern European influence, there's other Middle Eastern influence, Northern African influence. There's influence from all over the world going into such a small place. So inevitably the cultures, the food is kind of going to come together, and we have, there's some dishes on our menu, they might have ingredients or influences from 3 different countries, and that's just all on one plate. So it's really interesting kind of have those avenues available to kind of travel down to influence the food. So it gives us a wide range flavors to work with. So basically I have like an unlimited pantry, which is really fun.
And Chef Michael Solomonov, he also has won a lot of awards, and that's why we're here today, because not only is it one of the new Israeli restaurants, new, if you call 8 years new, but he has also been named Chef of the Year, right?
He's won a James Beard Award, won James Beard for Best Chef Mid-Atlantic. This year he was a finalist for Outstanding Chef in the entire country, so basically just being a finalist means a top 5 chef in the United States. So, for me it's an honor.
He's one of the great chefs in America right now, which is really, really exciting. But we're not here to talk about food. We're here to talk about drinks. So all of that, please tell us how that translates and fits into your bar menu, your cocktails, and things like that.
Sure. So basically, for a lot of people, it's kind of like a new cuisine here. So a lot of people are walking into the restaurant for the first time, and they've never really had this food before. So even for me, when I started, I just started off here as a server, and when I started working here, it's almost like learning a new language. So it takes a while, like even when you start working here, it kind of takes a while to like learn what everything is. So like for guests walking in here for the first time, like seeing all these words, all these different foods, ingredients that you're not familiar with can be a little bit daunting. So our service staff is amazing at kind of like guiding people through the experience, and with that part, our bar program kind of goes hand in hand. So you're having food you've never had before, so try a drink you've never had before. Maybe go a little bit outside of your like dirty martini comfort zone per se. So we try to do like some fun cocktails, and since it's such a food and such a chef-driven restaurant, we definitely we do have a couple savory cocktails on the menu that are kind of designed to pair well with the flavors that are in the food as well. So
I see on your menu you have about a half a dozen specialty cocktails. How was it? Well, let me say some of the names because they're great names. The Z&T, Israeli Salad Martini, the Marble Rye, and we'll get to Lemonnana in a second. But the Sunset View. How did it come down to just these 6 as your I guess starred cocktails?
Sure, we kind of, we start with like the Lemonnana and the Marble Rye. Those are kind of the 2 Zahav classics that are always on the menu. The Z&T is a fairly new one, and that one is probably joining that pantheon of drinks that are never going to go on the menu. So that kind of gives us 3 other cocktails to work with, and we're always kind of constantly changing things over. So we kind of want to have something on the menu for like anyone. We don't want someone to walk in the restaurant and be like, oh, I don't really think I'd like any of these cocktails. So there's always going to be something that's like fairly approachable, not too like out there or unfamiliar on the menu. So take like the Israeli Salad Martini. We basically have that on the menu 2 months out of the year. So when it's summer now, we're getting great produce from the farmers, so we have great heirloom tomatoes coming in. So what we do is we take gin and we infuse it with heirloom tomatoes, cucumbers, a little bit of parsley, let that sit for 2 days, and then strain it out and like push all the juice out of the tomatoes and cucumbers and everything. So
let me just clarify for everyone. A Pennsylvania or New Jersey tomato is different from any other tomato you have ever had. I can say that I come to the United States specifically to eat these tomatoes. So to have a gin based with, combined with these tomatoes, it must be insane. It must be fantastic.
It's really great. It's really great. And it's one of the things where people are like leading up to it going on the menu. We usually get about 5 phone calls every day. Like, is the Israeli Salad Martini on the menu yet? Is it on the menu yet? So we have to wait until we're getting like the perfect tomatoes, and then use that season around like 2 months. So. And
I wonder if Israeli tomatoes are as good as Pennsylvania. We'll have to go to Israel.
Maybe we'll have to take a little research trip and find out.
So that definitely is a blend of cultures. Obviously, we have the gin from Britain, the tomato, but it's still the Israeli salad. I love that. And the Marble Rye, of course, that harkens to the Jewish influence, I guess, of rye bread in a cocktail. Because it says what? Pumpernickel and caraway infused bourbon. So you've got the American and the... and
there's some toasted caraway seeds in there as well, a little bit of celery juice. So basically, the way I describe it to people in a weird way, it's almost like a deli sandwich in a glass, because you have the toasted bread, you have the caraway seeds, you have the rye, you have the celery. So
without the
really
meat,
fun.
which is good.
Yes,
without the meat flavor. Well, let's come to the Lemonnana, because I believe from my research that is the most Israeli of the drinks, and really, it's. Why don't I let you tell me about what Lemonnana means in Israel?
Yeah, so in Hebrew, nana means mint, so basically it means like a lemon mint drink. In Israel, it's mostly drank as a non-alcoholic drink. But here, before the restaurant opened, Chef Michael, he basically went on a research trip with the opening staff. They went to Israel, kind of see what the food scene was like there 8 years ago, and kind of draw influence for the restaurant. And they were just drinking lemonnadas everywhere. So when they came back here, like, we have to have this on the drink menu. So we had it, and they this obviously since the opening, so before my time, but they found it tastes best with bourbon, so that's what we
Which
make
most things do, right? Most things do taste best with bourbon.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And we also make it a little secret off the menu thing you can ask for is to have it made with arak, which is an anise liqueur. So it's kind of in the same vein as like a sambuca or ouzo, but it's only made with water, grapes, and anise seeds. So it's a lot drier and zestier. So that really makes it fun.
That sounds amazing. I'll have to try that.
Very
and look, you heard it here,
well,
guys. You know now that there's a secret menu. All right. Now let's talk about you a little, if that's all right. I saw you were training to be a sommelier.
Yeah, so I just passed the intro level, I guess, back in end of June. So I did that. I'm kind of studying, planning on taking the certified level early next year. I've always loved wine, and then when I started working here, I kind of found an even more profound love for it. The general manager who was here, he's a beverage director for all of our restaurants, and he's the general manager at Fisher. He's one of your other restaurants. One of our other restaurants, yes, up in Center City, and that's more Ashkenazi cuisine, whereas we're more Sephardic cuisine. He's one of the most passionate people I've ever met as far as wine and cocktails go, and he kind of taught me basically 80-90% of what I know about wine today. So he's such a passionate person, and he knows so much. It's kind of daunting when hearing him talk about wine, because he knows so much. So he was a great inspiration to me, and that kind of led me on the path to where I am today, becoming so passionate about wine, just trying to learn about new wines, new regions. I didn't know anything about Israeli wine. Just for most people, I feel like when they think of Israeli wine, people are just oh, it's probably Manischewitz or something like that. But there are world-class wines coming out of Israel. And
there's a whole section on your menu of wines of not only Israel and Palestine, but of Lebanon, Turkey, and Morocco.
Yeah, so we try to, it's one of the things where the wine's made here, it's really, really good wine. So it's, for the most part, it's grapes people know. I know a lot of Cabernet, Chardonnay. There's not a lot of Pinot Noir since it's a warmer climate there, but a lot of Burgundy and Bordeaux varietals, if you will, coming out of Israel. And they're really great wines, and they pair really, really well with our food. So it's really fun to be able to have a conversation with people and be oh, if you like a white Burgundy, I have this wine on the list you might like. If you like something from the Rhone Valley, a really nice meaty Syrah, they make that in Israel too.
And how open are people to trying new things? Do you feel that once that you got them through the door, they're all yours?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. Every once in a while I get someone who's I want a California Chardonnay. And I'm I'm sorry I don't have that, but if you like California Chardonnay, you'll love this wine. It's from Israel. It sees a year in oak. It's got that nice kind of rich texture that kind of California Chardonnay is, better or worse, they're kind of known for that now. But just with the food, there's something for everyone on our food menu, and on the wine list, there's something for everyone on our wine list too.
And the wine list, I read, is one of the top 100 wine lists in the whole country.
So yeah, that was a
what
nice
a way to
honor.
learn. What a way to learn is you're learning about really from one of the best wine lists in the whole country.
Definitely, yeah. And it's one of those things where we just want people to try new things. So you like Pinot Grigio, you like Sauvignon Blanc, we might not have that, but we have something that's very similar. And same thing, it's trying new food. We want people to try new wines, new cocktails, new beer as well. Just kind of make the whole experience something unique and something that'll kind of stick with someone for a very long time.
And speaking of the beer, since you brought it up, tell me about the beer list. Are they national or international? Or
we
both?
mostly, we have, there's Gold Star, which is a very, one very well-known Israeli beer. We do have a supplier that we work with, so we have it in kind of like fits and starts. They get their supply, and we basically buy all of it and like run through it. So we try to keep a constant supply, but unfortunately sometimes we just can't keep up with demand. But just like everything else with our beverage program, we just want beers that pair well with the food. So nothing, too heavy-handed. We're not going to have a Russian Imperial Stout we don't have one on the menu right now because that's too rich, too hearty. It's going to overpower the food that's so light and delicate that you're tasting. So we have like pale ale, we have saison, we have a really nice wit beer right now that's brewed with. There's a lot of coriander, so that pairs well with a lot of our food as well. So once again, with everything on the drink side of the menu, it's about things that are going to pair well with food. And since there's such a wide breadth of flavors coming out of the kitchen, I always look for, whether it's a beer or making a cocktail or a wine, I'm looking for something that's going to kind of pair with a very wide range of food, because we don't want to have like one wine that it's only going to pair really well with like one menu item, like our roasted lamb shoulder, which is like big, rich, really beautiful cut of meat. I know I've
had it. It is delicious.
Yeah. So there are like a couple wines that we kind of have, like that's kind of our showcase menu item. So we do have a couple wines that are like, oh, you're having a lamb shoulder, this is going to go great with the lamb shoulder, but you shouldn't have it with the salatim and the hummus, because it's going to be, it's a big, powerful red wine that's just going to blow out your palate. With the salatim and hummus, you won't be able to taste that. So it's about kind of finding wines that kind of paint a big picture, and then kind of having that conversation with people too, and be like, hey, if you're going to have one bottle of wine throughout your entire meal, maybe go with a richer white or a rosé, or even like a really nice light red, because that's going to kind of pair well with the widest array of flavors. So we love, we just, like myself, like the whole staff here, like we just like to talk to people, kind of figure out what they like to drink, and kind of give them the best recommendation that we see fit. You see we have a lot of really interesting wines on the menu, like for the most part with the things from like Israel, Lebanon, Turkey. That's where we get all the kind of like more common varietals, and then the wines that we have from say like France or Italy or Spain. For those, we kind of go like off the beaten path. So they're wines that are like very small production. They're natural wines. They're a little bit funky, kind of like a little bit like more like off the wall. So, there's a lot more history there. So there's a lot more experimentation, where there's in Israel, the modern winemaking industry only really got started back up in the 1980s, 1990s. So still like it's still pretty young there. So there's not that kind of like level of experimentation per se there. So a lot of the Israeli wines they're much more like classic in style.
Obviously, you love talking about wine.
Yes, I could talk for hours upon hours and hours.
Well, I'm getting thirsty talking about all this, so let's go make a drink.
Sure.
So now you know how to order Lemonnana the next time you're in town. Thanks to Jeff for letting us in on the secret. We're staying in the city of brotherly love to chat with our next guest, Anna Frey, proprietor of One Tippling Place. All she wanted was a great local bar in her neighborhood, so she created it herself. Stop by next time to discover why she's going back and forth to Mumbai, all in the name of cocktails. Until next time, bottoms up. For more information and links to everything you've heard about, plus a bit more, please visit bestbitsworldwide.com. Thanks for listening to Best Sips Worldwide, a spin-off of Best Bits Worldwide. Always remember the wise words of Oscar Wilde: all things in moderation, including moderation, and never drink and drive. Okay, I said that last part. Theme music is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. You'll find me at the bar.